What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and this one wants to break down what's going on with Tesla stock, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to answer the question: will Tesla end up seeing a major pullback, a big sell-off going into the next couple of weeks? I want to talk about more like towards like the longer term for Tesla, more for like the medium term, if anything. Before I do anything like this, though, and talk about the market and Tesla, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, in just one day. It ends tomorrow, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, so looking at Tesla, this thing is down about 2.3% as of right now, and it ended up just getting this rejection off our 50 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. One of the things that was repeatedly mentioned on this channel is that we have our 4-hour time frame being the most important one for Tesla, and Tesla had resistance at the 50 EMA and support at the 200. It's been going back and forth, getting tighter and tighter, and you will notice that we continually got rejected off the 50 EMA. It happened 3 times already, and our support that's holding us up is right over here. So whichever direction it breaks in will be determined by the EMAs. If Tesla breaks above like the 50, for example, this thing has the potential to push up more. If it breaks below the 200, it's going to sink a lot more. And whichever direction it breaks in my opinion, is going to be heavily dictated by the overall market. Just as a big reminder, like we have data that drops every so often. The data for today was more bearish. The market didn't really like it as the job openings were at the lowest we've seen since April of 2021. But to add on to this, we have some huge earnings coming out. We have PayPal coming out for tomorrow and Shopify. And then for Thursday, we have Amazon, Apple, and Coinbase. Amazon and Apple are going to be the 2 big ones for the week, and they can move the entire market big time. This could lead to a big shift in sentiment. This could cause the whole market to start sinking if things go south. And the exact opposite could also happen. The market could pump even more if we get some very strong earnings with strong guidance. Guidance is going to be very important and very huge in this case. Now, as far as Tesla goes, we had some news that came out that Tesla plans 9 electric semi-truck charging stations between California and Texas, which is good news for them, as the semis are going to be utilized a lot more efficiently and a lot more by different companies. But to add on to this, there was some bearish news that came out about how the governmental agencies have been investigating 280,000 Teslas on oversteering issues and many other things with power steering and etc. So it's worth noting that there were lots of reports that came out that were negative for Tesla, and the NHTSA is now initiating a probe into their Model 3 and Model Ys. And there are some steering issues that have caused possibly some crashes, at least according to the report. I don't know if that's entirely true, but it's a possibility. And this is, once again, very, very important. If this does lead to a big recall, this could be huge for Tesla. So we have to be very, very careful when it comes to trading Tesla and looking at the news. Now, looking at the current technicals, Tesla's looking a little weak right now, about to get a bearish cross on the 4-hour PPO. But for now, as it looks a little weaker, we're going to be watching this 260 support. If that fails us for the short term, we're going to be watching this gap down here at this 256 level. And then we have to watch support at the 200 EMA. But the bigger question is, will the whole market end up sinking? Because remember, the market tends to move on a very similar algorithm. Sometimes when you see like bad news for Apple, the whole market sinks, right? Sometimes the opposite happens. Sometimes when Apple pumps really hard, or Microsoft, we can see the whole market jump on that. So it just shows how similar different stocks tend to move. So the question is, what if something were to happen to the whole market? How would that affect Tesla? And the answer is, when you look at SPY right now, there's a possible head and shoulders setup that is developing, but not a guarantee, because we don't have confirmation of a break to the downside or anything like that. And if you want to see the market sink, if you actually want to see downside, first off, we need a catalyst. What is the catalyst going to be? Could it be Apple's earnings? Could it be Amazon? Could it be some other unknown event that happens? Could it be a credit event? Who knows what it's going to be? Something could happen. Sentiment has to shift, and we have to see SPY break down. We have to see SPX, the S&P 500, or any futures end up sinking. And how is that going to happen? By watching your different levels. Right now, we're basically just range bound, going back and forth and back and forth. The market's very tight right now, right? It's so tight, and it's not really doing anything too crazy. Look at the last couple of days, for example. We're just trading sideways, not really doing anything too huge. Where is the volatility? And in my opinion, here's the thing. With this head and shoulders possible setup, we do have some strong resistance around this 460 area. And the question is, what is going to even help this thing break to the upside after we pumped so much? On the daily chart on SPY, this thing just continues to rip up and up and up without getting much of a pullback. And historically, we tend to see the market pull back during August to September. That's what tends to happen. We will see if that ends up happening this time around. But if you want to see a pullback, if you want to see the market breakdown, you're going to be watching around this like 452 zone, very close to that. If we break below that and we end up sinking very, very hard, we don't want to like one tick below it like this. We want to hold below it and look very bearish in the process. If that happens, we're going to be watching 450, and at any break below 450, and that's it. The market's going to start sinking all the way down, start filling some of these gaps. SPY has a lot of gaps down in the 440s, and I have a feeling some of those may get filled. However, one of the things I learned about trading in the past is that you can't trade solely based off speculation, solely based off of possibility. We have to wait for the chart to tell us and show this to us before we make any moves. So what does that mean? I'm not going to be trading for SPY to hit like, 465 before this thing even breaks 460. It hasn't even broken 460 yet, so why would I assume it's going to go that high? I'm not going to assume SPY is going to crash to 440 unless it actually breaks below our critical support. If it breaks below like 454.5, then we'll be watching like 452. And if 452 breaks, it's likely going to start sinking harder, right? That's just an example of what I'm trying to talk about. So watch the chart for confirmation. I'm simply making this video to tell you there's a risk of potential downside because of how bullish the market has been for a while, because of history as the market tends to slow down during this period, and simultaneously because we have some big earnings that could change the entire flow of everything. I'm not too sure about the guidance of Amazon and Apple. I would be very, very careful. Remember, Apple is continuing to break all-time highs, continuing to push up very hard. It's actually not that far from all-time highs right now. And as this thing continues to pump, I do want to mention there is a bearish divergence developing on the chart from a technical standpoint. You could see it right over here. And Apple just continues to rip up for months, for the entire year, if anything, without any significant pullback. And that is not natural. It's not like healthy for a stock. You need to see healthy pullbacks. That's completely natural. You could even argue that there is a potential bullish structure developing here as well, but there are two different ways of looking at it. Could this be forming a head and shoulders, or if we break all the way up to like 200, if we break 198 to get to 200, could we pump before earnings and then react to earnings afterwards, right? So I think Apple's going to hold up for now, right? Maybe pump more. It could pump a little bit, and then that's going to be approaching its, hold on, give me 1 second, its earnings right here. Approaching its earnings for Thursday, we could see Apple hold up, maybe pump a little bit. And then after earnings, who knows what's going to happen? It depends so much on different factors. But I do want to note it's a little bit more likely we might see Apple sink. I have a gut feeling that that could be what's going to happen. Not a guarantee. I'm not promising anything, but it is one possibility. And if that is the case, this could slow the market down. So we have to be very careful here. And if the whole market were to slow down, if we actually get those bearish signals and etc., what does this mean for Tesla? Well, if Tesla were to sink down, hypothetically, you're going to be watching the 200 EMA. If that breaks, that's it. Tesla's going to start sinking down to the 240s, start filling those gaps down there. If it breaks below this red line, this 200 EMA, that is it. It's going to start sinking. So you're going to be watching this very carefully. Now, to add on to this, let me mention that for the QQQ, it's the same thing basically. If the QQQ breaks below 380 in particular, then 378, it has the potential to come all the way down, start filling these gaps down here. There's like 373. There's a gap down there. There's some, I believe, like around 360. But let me just mention that I don't expect it to crash that hard immediately. And also, when we have this potential cup and handle forming, this thing could technically try to hold up and maybe even pump a little bit first before the downside comes later. So it may hold up for the time being. I'm not saying the market has to crash immediately or tank. The market could hold up for now. The market could pump a little bit more approaching these earnings. But then later on, if earnings are not good or if something else happens, there could be a significant pullback coming. I think there's a good chance of that happening. All right, so I want to make that as clear as possible. What about for Nvda? For Nvda, you're going to be watching AMD's earnings to see how that goes. If AMD pumps really nicely, this could help Nvda get one more little pump before this thing gets a very healthy pullback over the next couple of weeks. All right, so for the time being, we're going to be watching this to see if this thing could get one last pump. If not, then that is it. AMD is going to help determine this alongside other earnings and the entire flow of the entire stock market. See how the market is down, all these different stocks are red? The market's moving in unison, at least it tends to do that. So that's why we want to watch all these different levels and be well aware of the risks, okay? If you're trading Tesla, don't forget to watch your 200 EMA as our support. That's going to be critical for the stock. And with that said, I thank you all so much for listening. Hopefully, this video was helpful for all of you. Is Tesla going to crash? The answer is, well, honestly, I can't determine that right now. I can't promise that unless we get some kind of catalyst for the market or something like that. And forget about trying to forecast what's going to happen in 6 months. What I would say is watch your next level and see how it reacts to that. If there's a bad piece of news and Tesla does break below the 200, then yes, Tesla could sink, of course. But for now, it's not doing that. So don't assume it's just going to happen automatically. There is a risk of it happening, and I want to warn you about that. But just watch your levels for confirmation and do what you have to do. Let the charts tell you what is right and use that when it comes to your trading and etc. All right, so that's what I have for this video. Thank you for listening. Hope this was helpful. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon as long term is still very bright alongside for the whole market. And peace out.